Ever wonder why you say you're going to do something, but you don't follow through? Or do you worry that you're somewhat of a psychopath because you do the exact opposite of what you say you're going to do? Don't worry, you're not crazy. Hey guys, Dr. Ashley here. And today we're going to be talking about the way that the normal human brain works and why it works against you in achieving your goals. So it's important to know that, just for simplicity's sake, think of your brain as having two pieces. You have this lower half called your primitive brain, and then you have the upper half, the cortex, which is your more evolved human brain. So with evolution, the primary driver for our actions was our primitive brain. It is what kept us alive so that we could continue to evolve to now be the dominant species. The primitive brain is driven by three things. The first is to seek pleasure. The second is to avoid pain. And the third is to conserve energy. So it makes sense that these three factors were very important while we were evolving and didn't necessarily have shelter and didn't necessarily have an easy food supply. And there were lots of dangers out there that could kill us around every corner. So if you think of our primitive ancestors going out, trying to find food, the goal was to find highly concentrated food because that delivered more pleasure to those pleasure centers in our brain. Things like fat and sugar. Those give you a high amount of pleasure and keep us going to get them. They also tend to be higher in calories and thus support us or provide us with more energy and make it so that we don't have to eat as much of it. And so this was really helpful when food was scarce. We wanted to find that really concentrated source of energy. And next we go to avoiding pain. And obviously this one's really important for keeping us alive because anything that caused us pain as we were evolving was potentially deadly. The big ones are going to be like an animal attacking you. But if you were exposed to extremes of weather, that had the potential of killing you. If you ate something and it upset your stomach, that had the potential of killing you. So it was really important for our brain to learn very quickly what caused pain and to avoid it at all costs. And then finally, to conserve energy. So do as little as possible while also seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, because you didn't want to overexert yourself to the point where you could not go out and find more food or find shelter or find those other water things that you needed, because if you ran out of energy, then you were just going to die. So now fast forward to modern day, and these things are very, very easy to accomplish. You can go to the grocery store and find those highly concentrated foods, and they tend to be cheaper than the less concentrated foods. So you even have like less pain expenditure giving away your money for getting more and more and more pleasure. For most of us, we're lucky enough not to have to survive on a day-to-day basis in a way that we're avoiding physical pain. We have our physical necessities met. So what does our brain left to do? It goes and creates pain on a different level and in places where it's not necessarily going to kill us. So if you think about that, that's going to be the pain associated with not fitting in socially. So our brains have turned it to mean that if we are an exile of a social circle, that means that we're an outcast and we're going to have to go live and be and survive on our own, which was very unlikely to be successful as we were evolving. Today, of course, much easier, and also we can go find a new social circle, but our brain doesn't realize that it thinks that everything is danger and will kill us, even if it's not on a physical level, even if it's on an emotional level. It perceives danger everywhere. But just remember, that's what it evolved to do. And then finally, conserve energy. We have to lift a finger to get anything that we want. We just have to lift up our phone and press a few buttons, or we have to expend very little energy outside of that to meet our basic survival needs. So some personal examples of how my primitive brain takes over before I even realize it are automatically saying yes to getting a milkshake when my husband says he wants one, eating all of the leftover food off of my toddler's plate. And it's interesting because my brain will offer me the idea that it's better for the environment, right? We don't want to waste food. And so that's a sneaky one. Another one is, let's get on Instagram for just to catch up for a moment before you actually sit down and start working. Another common one that comes up for me is like, oh, we could take a nap this afternoon instead of working. And it's funny because these seem so innocent, but if you add them up over days and days and days and days, they result in things that I don't want in my life. Things like weight gain and not feeling physically like I want to, not having the business success that I want to. So it's important to realize how sneaky your primitive brain can be. So it can be very helpful to think of your brain as a toddler with a knife. Its intention is not to hurt or kill anybody, but it might. So you have to manage it. It was very important for us to evolve with, and it is still right now a part of our human biology. So it's always going to be there, but the benefit or the good news is that we can learn to work with it. And that is by managing it with our more evolved, kind of think of it as your parent evolved brain. So you have to put the evolved brain in charge of the primitive brain so that chaos does not ensue. So it's important in our current day to leverage our evolved brain, because that is the piece of us, the part of our brain that is going to allow us to achieve what we want in this modern day and age. And if you think about it, a lot of the things that we want to accomplish work against that motivational triad. So if you think about it in terms of weight loss, we have to avoid pleasurable foods, go through the discomfort, aka pain, of experiencing a little bit of hunger while our body is used to getting adjusted to eating less food, and put more time and effort and energy into this whole process. Look at exercise. I mean, that is the opposite of conserving energy, where you're literally just going out to expend energy with no immediate end goal in mind. And this is another important thing to know, is that our primitive brain is not capable of thinking far in the future the way our evolved brain is. So it doesn't understand that not eating something that's super pleasurable is going to benefit us in the long term. It truly sees that as, this is energy that's available to us now. We could potentially die if we don't eat it, because what if we don't ever get to see food again? Or what if it's going to be days before we get to see food again? So it's really helpful to understand how that primitive brain works, and just know that if you feel like it's a hostage negotiation between like the part of you that wants to get these results and then the part of you that wants to stay in the cave and do exactly what we were doing because it was nice and comfortable and we were safe and alive, just understand that that is the way it's supposed to work. Understand that that is a normal dialogue. That's your brain working as it's supposed to. And you can kind of stop resisting the primitive brain. Just acknowledge it. Say, I hear you, primitive brain. You don't want to go, walk or exercise or lift weights or eat the salad over the pizza. But we're still going to do it because it's going to be better for us in the long run. And it kind of takes away that resistance. It allows it to act the way it's supposed to, and you still get to achieve your goals within that frame of mind. So keep an eye out for my video on neuroplasticity, which talks about how to make the actions driven from your evolved brain more of the automatic default in your life. We'll see you next time, self-healers.